Matthew here from MiniWarGaming.com, and we are on day 4 of our Indiegogo fundraising campaign for Dark Potential. It is day 4, right? Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Today is Friday. Good Friday, so happy Easter. So we're almost at our $40,000 goal. We're just a little past $39,000. So apparently I just don't know how to make goals. I just make childish goals. I think a few people have mentioned that that's their new favorite quote, that I just make how to eat. Those goals are for children. But anyways, I obviously say that in jest because I realize that I'm lucky. I'm incredibly fortunate to have such a large network of people who are willing to really help us with this. So today's update, unfortunately, I don't have any new concept art for you, but I do have something cool. And the reason I don't have any new concept art for you is because it's only day 4. I swear, this week feels like it was a month long. To me, it feels like it was forever ago that we started this campaign. It has been so hectic and busy and fun and stressful and everything put together that I feel like we've been doing this forever, and we're only on day 4. So it's kind of crazy. But I had this printed off yesterday at the printers. I'm going to have to back up. Look at that. See, if I hold it right here, it just looks like a piece of concept art like you've seen before. But it's a poster. Isn't that awesome? And I did the other one as well. Oh, it's upside down. And there's the other one that's of London. So I'm pretty excited to have these. I'm probably going to plaque them, put them up on the wall. You might look at those and say, hey, we talked about those for the perks. We'll get to that. So anyways, I wanted to do a few things in this video. I want to answer a few questions that have been going around the forums or in the comments. They've been coming up in several places. Let's not wreck these posters. Hold on, I got to roll this up better. Otherwise, I'm going to wreck them. So I wanted to address those. Wanted to put out a few thank yous, especially to the people who've been contributing large amounts. But I say that, but I'm still incredibly grateful for everybody who contributes even $5, because crowdfunding is about getting a lot of people that contribute small amounts. Having said that, it's hard to thank 300 and some odd people, but we will be doing that in a group video later on. I have a pretty cool idea how I'm going to be doing that. But that's once the campaign is over. So I apologize if I can't email everybody individually to thank them. I was planning on doing that when we started, expecting 100 or 200 people. Now we're between 300 and 400, and that's only going to get bigger. So I could spend all my time just sending emails, or I could spend the time spending the money that you've given me trying to get artists and sculptors and everything else. So thank you. We'll go over more thank yous in a second, but I want to get to the fun stuff first. The plans. I put up the question a day or two ago, 2 days ago, on day 2, what I should do if we hit 40,000. And obviously we're going to hit that because we still have 26 more days, and there's no way we're not going to hit $40,000. So we'll have to set a new goal with new ideas. And I got a lot of feedback, tons of feedback, like several pages of feedback on the forum about what I should do if we hit 40,000. Everything ranging from doing starter factions to investing more of it in art to do plastic miniatures instead of metal, and all these different things. And so I want to tell you what our plans are at this point. You see, when the original goal was $10,000 and we were going to make 5 miniatures, that's very comfortable. That's like, okay, yeah, I can hire enough artists and enough sculptors to get those 5 miniatures done. Now we have a lot more expectation, which is great. It's great to have that pressure because it also means we have the funding. But there's a certain point where it's hard to get even more done, because you have to get lots of artists and lots of sculptors if you want to get it done even faster. I've gained a lot of respect for companies like Games Workshop and Privateer Press and the whole design process and the systems they must have in place to be able to produce as many miniatures and as much art as they do on a monthly basis. It's quite astounding, to be honest. And their stuff is even way more complicated, larger kits and all the plastic molding and all of that. So hats off to companies like that, and the smaller companies as well, that produce a lot of miniatures, because it's a big job, especially starting up. So it's a bit of a learning process for me here, and I knew there would be. I knew that there's a lot that I didn't understand about the process, and I came in expecting to need to learn things and have growing pains and everything like that. And so that's perfectly fine. And so we're working on getting more artists. We had another thing that I asked for in day 2 update was for people to send me through the forum other artists that they find. So you guys go out and find artists that you think would fit really well for Dark Potential, and then you link to them in the forum. And I'll put links to all these below. Everything I talk about in this video, there will be links below or above if you're watching this on Indiegogo. And I still need more. I've already contacted a lot of the artists that people have been posting because you have been finding really good ones. This is the great thing about crowdsourcing. I'm going to have to make a whole video just about crowdsourcing and crowdfunding after this is done, because this has been tremendous. What we've been able to do. A small business like MiniWarGaming would not be able to produce a good line of miniatures on their own, because we just don't have the funding, first off, and the second thing is we don't have the manpower. We only have a few employees producing everything we're doing, and they're already super busy doing everything that MiniWarGaming does, like producing content, supporting customers, shipping shipments, and everything else like that. And so this whole crowdsourcing idea, I'm going to have to talk about later on, but it's phenomenal. And without you guys, there would be no crowd. And so the idea here is that as a whole, we have way more knowledge than me as an individual. And there are people that are watching these videos that have more knowledge than me about concept artists and sculpting. And I've been getting a lot of good feedback and learning a lot from you guys. So thank you very much for all of that. So what our current plan is with the money that we've raised is my goal is to make 2 starter sets. And so that'll be 2 factions will have a starter set. I'm not 100% sure what those factions will be. Right now, Corporation is looking like, although we're going to be renaming that, the Corporation looks like it's going to be one of them, simply because we have some awesome art for it and people are really liking it. And I want this Lanthos to be the other one. That's tricky though, because I'm having a hard time getting good art for them, which is why you haven't seen anything yet. So that's what I want the first 2 starter sets to be. A lot of it will be dictated by just how good the artists return stuff to me, because I'm not going to produce anything that I don't love. And that's going to slow us down a little bit, but it'll make sure that we have really good miniatures in the end, at least as good as we can make them. I keep standing by the statement that we're not going to be able to create Games Workshop level miniatures on our first try, but we can sure create as the best we can on our first try. And so I want to do 2 starter sets. A starter set will have probably 1 commander, a squad of 5 guys, and 1 solo, whatever that happens to be, a sniper or an assassin or a rocket launcher guy, whatever. We'll find out as we get closer, and it depends on the art and everything. So it'll be 7 miniatures, and it'll actually only require us to make 5 miniatures, because the squad will be 5 guys, but what I'm planning is that there will be a leader, that'll be 1 miniature, and then there'll be 2 grunts, as we'll call them, like War Machine does. And they'll be individual, they'll look different, just slightly different poses, maybe a different face or something, and then we'll duplicate those 2 for the other 2. And I got this idea from War Machine, because that's what War Machine does with their squads. They have a unique looking leader, because you need to know which one's the leader. And then if there's a squad of 5 guys, usually you'll have 2 unique looking guys, and then they'll just duplicate those for your other ones. And the larger squads will do something similar. And I like that. I like it. It saves on costs, but there's enough variation in the squad to make it look nice, rather than having 5 identical guys, or spending all the money and making 5 unique guys, which would cost even more money in the development process. So that's the plan. 2 starter sets with the factions. All the extra things that you guys are suggesting, like fancy dice or measuring tapes, I'm considering all of that for sure. It really just depends how I can get sources for all these things and the cost behind it. I want to make sure these starter sets are affordable, so that people can buy into the game without spending tons of money. Having said that, we need to pull a profit on it. So people have been asking, let me go over a few of the questions that people have been asking. One, a lot of people are saying, what are the price of these miniatures going to be? The answer to that question is, I don't know, because until we have the sculpts done and until we have the molds made, the manufacturers can't give me an exact amount of how much it's going to cost to cast them. And I need to find out all the packaging costs and all those things put together. And then I need to mark it up in such a way that I can make a profit when we sell it at wholesale to stores. That's how it works. And this is why it always looks like, Games Workshop, if you look at it, it only costs if it costs $5 to make a model, then they'll sell it for $50, something like that, or might even sell it for more. And you look at that and say, those money grabbing, they're just completely selfish and they just want all the money. But you have to realize that as much as it only costs $5 to make the miniature, then the $50 is retail, but they also sell it to independent retailers at almost half that cost. And then there's all their overhead, like all their artists, all their everything else that they're doing, all their advertising. There's a lot of this extra overhead. And so while the miniature only costs so much to make, and it seems like they're marking it up a lot, you have to do that in order to make a profit. Having said that, I don't think we're going to have anything near Games Workshop prices, at least what their metals and resin miniatures are, simply because it won't cost us as much, because they're going to be smaller. They're going to be just infantry-sized miniatures to start. So hopefully we'll be able to keep the cost down as much. Just hopefully you can trust me that we'll set the prices to what is a fair market value so that we can make a profit, so that we can continue making more miniatures. But we'll try to keep it a reasonable price so that you guys can get into the game without spending a ton of money. because that's the best way to do business. Make sure you have a fair price for the consumer to be able to afford, and you to be able to make a profit. Both sides win. You get a product you want. We make money so we can make more of the product you want. So that was one of the questions. Another question, people keep saying, if you get to the $40,000 goal, you should do plastic instead of metal. Now, the problem with that is $40,000 is not going to be anywhere near enough to do plastic. I actually did some research. I thought, okay, maybe there's some good ideas there. Maybe we should look into doing plastic. So I did look into doing it. And while there's going to be a variety of prices to get stuff done, getting a mold done for plastic miniatures costs anywhere from $20,000 to $50,000. And maybe there's places you can get done cheaper. But think, cheaper would mean like $10,000 instead of $20,000 to $50,000. And now think about the money that we've raised. $40,000 all of a sudden doesn't sound like a lot when you're paying $10,000. Even if it was $5,000 per mold. Like we're looking at, for metal miniatures, you're looking at $100 to $200 for a mold. And then, it depends on the size of the metal. It could be anywhere from 50 cents to a couple bucks to create the metal miniature after that. Whereas with plastic, you're looking at tens of thousands of dollars to make the mold, and then like 25 cents to create several miniatures. And so it's incredibly cheap once you've invested the money into the molds. And second to that, to create plastic miniatures, there's not really anywhere in North America that's really good. So we'd have to outsource to the UK or to China, and then we have communication problems, whereas the one that I have for metal, I can drive to. They're only a couple hours away, and so I'm actually going to be visiting them to inspect everything and make sure that the quality is good. So I don't think we're going to be doing plastic. In fact, I'm pretty sure we're not going to be doing plastic. I know that disappoints a lot of you, and my goal is to be like Privateer Press, where they started with all metals, and then they're slowly switching everything over into resin as they can, or plastic, even better. And that's just, I think that's a good business model to do this. Like even Games Workshop doesn't do everything in plastic. They do their extra stuff in resin. And resin, to cast resin miniatures, is actually pretty expensive. The resin's not expensive, but the process is. So most, like 99% chance, these miniatures are going to be metal. I realize that some people will say, well, forget it, I'm not going to invest or buy into it. And that's fine. You can wait for it to be plastic in a few years or whenever that's going to be. But that's just the way it has to be. So, continuing on, there have been people suggesting, let's see what we want to get into here. Talking about new perks. There's been a lot of suggestions for like t-shirts or posters, as you see, or involvement in the production somehow, or even more painted miniatures. I'm working on the new perks. We're probably going to release some new perks next week. Not today because it's a holiday weekend. I'm actually the only one here at the office right now because we're closed today, but I have a battle report to do today, so I decided to make this update. I'll be taking Monday off instead because today's supposed to be a holiday. Anyway, so I'll be doing more perks probably next week because our $1,500 level is almost all sold out. We had 10 slots available and 8 of those are already taken up. And I can't reveal everybody who took that slot because when you contribute, you get to choose if you want to remain completely anonymous or if you want to be identity only. In other words, I can name you, but I can't tell people how much you spent or contributed. And then there's those who want to just be visible, and their name can be told by the amounts that they had. And you can see a lot of these on the Funders tab on the Indiegogo campaign. But I want to name, out of the 8 people, 5 of them are visible, so I want to name you. The other 3, you know who you are. It's tremendous. I already emailed you, but I'm going to do it on video anyways. It's awesome, 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 awesome. I can't believe that anybody actually took that level. It's just incredible, the amount of support. With these 8 people, they more than hit our original goal of $10,000. 8 people times this, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, $12,500 because one of them actually donated $2,000. $12,500 from these 8 people. It's ridiculous. So the 5 people who I can name, hopefully I won't get your names too butchered. We got Peter Tuminaro, we got Morton Vidschmidt, we got Jack Woodrow, we got Robert Emick, and Orlando Morales. Those are the 5 people who did the $1,500 level that chose to be visible. And the other 3 were identity only, so they don't want me to reveal who they are with the amount that they spent. But to you guys and you 3 anonymous ones, thank you so much, because it's ridiculous how much that helps us. And so it'll be fun to work with you guys to get your name involved in the actual story somewhere or with a character or something. We'll figure it out as we get there. Anyway, so So other perks that we're probably going to be doing, t-shirts has been suggested. That's going to be a little difficult. And especially, and posters as well. I want to do posters, but each of these posters cost me $25 to print. Now I can get that cheaper by doing them in bulk. But even if I get it down to like $10 or $15, and then I got to ship them, which posters are not cheap to ship because, well, they're big. This will have to be a more expensive perk. It'll have to be like maybe a $100 perk just to get a poster. And so I'm not sure if that's really worth it. If you contribute at all, at least $5, you get the art for these. You actually get like the two things that you saw there. You're going to get those two, and hopefully one or two more if I can get them done by the end. And so you can then send them into your local printing house. You'll have my permission to print them off for personal use as posters. And so you can spend an extra $25 or whatever your local place does it at, and you can have your own posters. And that way, even at the $5 level, you can get these nice posters to put on your wall or something. So I'm probably not going to do posters. Maybe I'll have it at a higher dollar level just so that we can cover those costs. As for t-shirts, same idea. It costs us probably about $10 to $15 to make a t-shirt, and then we got to ship it. Now, that's not, the shipping part for t-shirts is not too big a deal because we can stuff it into the box with the miniatures, and it won't cost that much extra to ship compared to just the miniatures. So the t-shirts are a little viable too. But once again, you think that t-shirts would be at a low level for contributions, but because they cost $10 or $15, that'll take a big chunk of your contribution if it's at like the $50 level or $75 level. So it'd have to be once again be at least at the $100 level to get the t-shirts. So that's what's happening with that one. So we're working on it, and I will announce some more perks next week for sure. I already mentioned artists, right? We're still looking for artists, lots and lots of concept artists and sculptors especially. Link below to the forum topic where you can reply and post a gallery. That's right, we did talk about that with crowdsourcing. You can post links to people's galleries that you think would work really well with their project. Even if it's yourself, feel free to post it there. And then lastly, well, second to lastly, we're going to be changing the name of the corporation to an actual corporation. So I'm going to be holding a contest, not yet, probably next week I'll start it, a contest for a name and a logo and like a short one-paragraph background. So to enter the contest, you're going to have to come up with a new name. You're going to have to come up with a simple logo, like very, very simple logo for it. Like something that could be, like right now if you look at the concept art for the corporation girl and guy, you see a little C, like in some places, that's just C for corporation. So something simple like that. That's a little simple. And then like a one-paragraph background on what the corporation was pre-war and why they would be the corporation now. And then the winner, of course, the name that they chose and the logo they chose will, at least in some modified form or the original form, be used in the game. And we'll probably throw in a bunch of miniatures as well as an extra prize. So stay tuned for that. So last thing, I just want to go over, I've got a list of people who donated at least $250. And this short list has contributed a lot. Like I said, a big thank you to everybody who's contributed anything, even $5, because it all adds up, as you can see. But I'm going to go through all those who chose to be visible. So at the $500 level, we have 5 people who took it, but only 3 who are visible. One is Brandon, I don't have a last name here, Chris McDougall, and Jason Kimbrough. At the $350 level, we have Michael Brousseau, Eli Glanz, Heldon Smith, Vincente Martinez Jr., John Butler, David Miller, Jeff McKibben, Patrick, and David Hindmarsh. And then at the $250 level, we have Simon Selby, Dale Bennion, Reno Sock, Martin Grasso Jr., Josh Van Ofstel, Jason Ambrose, Paul Weston, Jonathan Brenz, Jeff Wood, and Woody Woodyad Harma. I'm sorry, I don't know how to say that name. Sorry if I butchered that. So big thank you goes out to everybody on that list, and to everybody else who's donated, but especially those people on the list because those contributions make a big difference. Let's just do a quick tally. That's 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6, 7, 8,000, and about $9,000 between that small list of people, plus the $12,000. So $20,000 of the $40,000 is from this short list of people. So obviously, if you're making larger contributions, you make a big difference. If you're making small contributions, you make a difference as well. I really don't want to minimize on the small ones. I just want you to be clear. I am incredibly happy whenever I see even a $5 one come in. So anyways, I think I'm going to end this here. It's almost been 20 minutes for this update. We're starting to be on more websites as well. Beasts of War featured us in their live show. I'll put a link to that right below here too. And yeah, thanks to everybody who's supporting us. It's incredible. The whole journey is being incredible. It's a new phase for MiniWarGaming, that's for sure. And don't worry, we won't let up on our other phases. Like I said, I've got to go play a 40K battle report right now. So we're not going to be lighting up on content in those areas, at least not for the next long while, until Dark Potential is like our big main thing. And maybe we start lighting up. Oh, phone's ringing. I got to go. Happy wargaming.